Hey all you awesome artists, time for another tutorial. I actually just got off of our Zoom conference with both grade level, the lower grade levels K through 2 at 11 o'clock and then the grades 3 through 5 at 12 o'clock, and I am so happy with the turnout. We only had about, I don't know, 10 to 15 kids on each meeting, but honestly that's more than I expected because everyone is probably really overwhelmed right now with everything that they're supposed to be learning how to do and doing. So really, I was just very happy to see some of your faces. It was really exciting, and to see a lot of what you're creating and things like that, and or the things that you hope to create, or the activities you're doing with your family, and just yeah, it was just awesome. So I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. But today, during the live meetings, I did share a Google Slides document that I will post to Schoology this afternoon about an artist named Henri Matisse. And he was famous for his paper cutouts, but he was also a sculptor and a painter, and he's really well known for using shapes. And if you go on the Google Slides document, you'll see we talked about organic shapes and geometric shapes. So today I'm going to go ahead and show you a little video on how to make a collage, which is a multimedia piece using all different types of paper, magazines, newspaper, envelopes, and scrap papers that you might have sitting around. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do a collage. So here we go. As you can see, I've got a lot of different supplies out for the collage that we're going to be making using geometric and organic shapes. Geometric being a shape that has a name, basically. So square, rectangle, triangle, pentagon, things like that. And then shapes that don't really have defined names and are hard to measure are usually geometric or organic shapes, or freeform. There's a couple of different things you can call them. So what I did was gather a bunch of different papers. These are the papers that we created yesterday from my YouTube channel using the chalk and water. It just was really simple. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and check that out first, because these are really cool and they took little supplies and hardly any preparation or time, really. I went around and found some scraps of colored paper that I had, and since I already had these, I tried to make them complement each other. So, and then also, a little known fact, envelopes are one of, they have a really cool pattern usually on the back. So it's like a little cross-hatched texture pattern that might look nice. Also, magazines have tons of different patterns. You can cut out amazing things just from a magazine. Okay, so I mean, even if this is all you had, you could get tons of different things from a magazine. Food. Any old menus you might have lying around. Those might be good. Or something else that's always kind of cool. They always have really beautiful images. Could be a calendar that you could use. And you could actually cut out individual shapes from the calendar or wherever to use as your shapes on your collage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a black background, but you could use any color that you have a larger piece of. You can use white, you could use a piece of newspaper, whatever works for you and whatever you have on hand, because really it's not always about the end product. It might be more about the process and just having this as an outlet and doing something fun and creating during this time in our life where everything is so uncertain. So a couple of tips when collaging. I'm going to go ahead and start with some geometric shapes. So I'm going to start with maybe some rectangles. Well, yeah, that's more of a square, but rectangle, square, maybe a circle. If you, see, I just cut those out without drawing them, but if you were to draw something, you could always trace, let's see. I also forgot to mention that I have white glue stick. You could use tape in this instance, or if you don't have anything around, you can mix some flour and water and mix it up to about the consistency of applesauce, and then you can actually use that as a glue as well. Just make sure you ask before you go taking things out of your pantry, especially right now. So anyways, anytime I do collage, let me get something round. I like to draw on the back of the paper so that if I cut it out, I don't see the pencil lines. So this one doesn't have a front or a back. But say if I were going to draw on something on this one, I might want to draw on the white side so that when you cut it out, you don't have any pencil lines showing. So I'm just starting out with some basic geometric shapes for now. And since this one doesn't have a front or a back, when I glue this down, I'll just want to make sure I glue it down, put the glue on the side that has the pencil lines so that maybe I won't see those. All right, so I've got a couple of geometric shapes now. The fun part for me during this project is really the freeform organic shapes. And if you do, try to go on to the Google Slides to make sure you can check in with Henri Matisse, which was a French artist, a fauve artist, and he called this paper cutouts. He ended up in a wheelchair later in life, and he couldn't paint as easily anymore. So he really missed going out into the garden and picking flowers and things like that. So instead, he decided he would make a paper garden. And he would make all of these beautiful organic shapes, and then he would lay them out on the floor so that he could choose from them. And he kind of called it picking flowers from his garden. So once again, organic shapes are things that don't have names. They don't have regular edges. That could be called a raindrop shape, but that's just because you and I know that as the shape of a raindrop. Starting to get some of that nice pink in there. And notice I'm cutting out from the very corners of my paper because I could still get another shape out of here. And I could still get another shape out of these areas that are still big enough, and I could save these for another project. So I also want to get some of that cool envelope shape. I mean, envelope paper. You know me, let's do a rainbow. And all I'm doing is basically, I haven't glued anything down yet, because I like to play around with them almost like a puzzle before I glue anything down, just to make sure I'm happy with it. Now you can also draw on these shapes. You don't have to keep them plain. You could draw on here. I actually think that yellow is kind of a little bit too bright and bold, so I think I'm going to add another smaller square inside. Kind of breaks up that big yellow spot. These could be as big or small as you want them to be. I'm working small for most of my demos so that one, I can conserve supplies, and also that I can show you that it can be done on small paper. You don't need these large, huge art pieces to, one, enjoy it, and also to come out with a really amazing piece at the end. So far, I'm happy. I really love the way that it's looking. I would like to repeat that rainbow shape again, maybe somewhere, because I really like it. I don't know why it's speaking to me. Notice I'm flipping to make sure I'm right, drawing on the side I'm not going to see. I'm kind of a stickler for clean lines and no messy pencil lines, unless of course they're part of the piece, and that's no problem. So then, plus that way, if I don't cut precisely, then I can hide that. All right, so we've got a lot of cool papers going on here. I think I'm even going to be flipping through my magazine for a second and see if I can't find something I like. I don't know why, but I really love this shape down here, and I'm actually going to cut the plant out, and then I'm going to add that. And that will be a freeform or organic shape because it's found in nature, it's not easily measured, and it doesn't have any sort of name other than maybe the type of plant that it is. But if I were to see this shape without all of the other context from here, I wouldn't know what to call it. I would just call it an organic shape. So these can add kind of a cool element to your project. I think I'm going to cut one more out of there, and then I'm going to show you a couple more things that you can do. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. It's very interesting. There's got some realistic elements, some organic, some geometric shapes. Now, I need to glue it all down. And I have a lot of overlapping. That's when something is in front of or behind another item. So it can get a little tricky. I'm not gonna take the whole thing apart. Not just yet. I'm gonna put it together piece by piece without really moving my stuff because I'm happy with the way it looks. I really am liking these little rainbows with the envelope paper. It has such a cool, I don't know if you can see it that well. Yeah, you can. It has a pretty cool texture on there with those little hatch marks. Just a little vertical series of vertical and horizontal lines. See, now once you take them off, sometimes it's hard to remember where they went. But definitely I suggest laying it out first so that you know whether or not, one, everything's going to fit, two, are you going to be happy with the shapes, or do you need to find different patterns or colors for your papers? You know, it's all about preference, really. Now notice I'm putting my glue onto the back of the item I'm gluing because it gets a little tricky if you're trying to guess where. I don't like that. I want to be able to see those curves there. So maybe I'll move this more over here. Kind of looks like a piece of coral with it growing out of it. And I'm just using a glue stick because you don't need a heavy glue when you're using paper because it doesn't weigh very much. And I think I kind of like that, how crooked it went. All right. One last little rainbow, and then I'm going to go ahead and, I think I need to trim this guy. He's a little bit too big. There we go. That's better. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is you could use oil pastels, you could use crayons, you can add to this if you want. I'm not sure where I put my glue top. I'll find it in just a few minutes. So there's a lot going on here. A lot of very interesting shapes, organic, geometric, patterns, colors, all of that. You could keep it simple if you wanted to. You don't have to use all of this extra stuff. I just wanted to show you that you can create with things you have laying around the house. I am actually going to use a whiteout pen that I have had sitting around. If you have white paint or if you have white colored pencils or anything, I'm using white because I have a black background, but anything that might add to your picture. And when I do, one of my favorite things to draw or paint is I do rainbows, and then I do kind of fun movement lines like Keith Haring does. So I think I'm going to add some of those to my picture to maybe kind of have a little bit of excitement. Maybe this rainbow is, oh, it's not showing up very well. Haven't used this in a long time. There we go, let's try that. I think that this gives the rainbows a happy feeling. There we go, it just needed to be shaken up. So that is something I just do in almost all of my art when I'm doing these rainbows, because like I said, it just gives it kind of a fun, happy, exciting feeling. But you can add whatever kind of elements you'd like. So then I always like to sign my artwork with my initials. So that got way too juicy. AH, and then the year, so 2020. This is not working out for me. I'm just going to do 20 because I don't want to take up too much space or visually clutter it. So there we go. I'm happy with my finished product. I hope that you guys are able to create something that you're happy with and that brought you joy. And I hope that you upload it to our Padlet. Remember, that's the student gallery online for Glenwood Art. But whoever you are, I hope you had fun creating, and I look forward to seeing your awesome artwork. Have a wonderful day.